Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome back to another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. On this episode, I will tell you the story of designing a flyer for a local hair salon. But before we get into all that, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. If you want to find the Beats and Speaks podcast with yours truly, Leigh Dickey, you can find the Beats and Speaks podcast on YouTube under Leigh Dickey Beats and Speaks. Beats and Speaks podcast is also on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher Radio, my official website, leightdickey.com, and everywhere else podcasts are available. So with that out of the way, let's get right into this latest episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with Leigh Dickey. Alright, so the hair salon in question that I designed the flyer for is Hair by Jingles, located at 655 McCowan Road. That's at Lawrence Avenue and McCowan Road in Scarborough, Ontario. You can call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment if you are looking for a top-notch haircut done by top-notch professionals who know what they're doing. These guys have been in business since 1982. That's 35 years and counting. They are magicians when it comes to your hairstyle or anybody's hairstyle. They know what they're doing. They're very knowledgeable staff. Very knowledgeable people, very warm and very welcoming. So if you're looking for a top-notch haircut, I highly recommend Hair by Jingles, located at 655 McCowan Road. That's at Lawrence and McCowan in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. If you're planning on visiting or Scarborough and need a haircut, or if you live in Toronto or Scarborough and need a haircut, go check out Hair by Jingles at 655 McCowan Road. That's at Lawrence and McCowan, and call them up at 416-431-4400 to make an appointment. These guys will not disappoint you. They're absolutely top-notch, very warm, very welcoming people, very knowledgeable about hairstyles, and they will work their magic. They are magicians of hairstyling, I promise you. I've seen these guys. I've been going to these guys for 2.5, 3 years, something like that, and I've known the owners for about that same amount of time. And that's basically how designing this flyer came about. So I'm going to get into that story, but if you guys need a top-notch haircut, then check out Hair by Jingles at 655 McCowan Road, or call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. Okay, let's get into how I designed this flyer for Hair by Jingles. So, like I said, I've known the owners of this salon for 2.5, 3 years. They're great people, very knowledgeable, very nice. And they've been very good to me. And I have a background in graphic design and media and entertainment and broadcasting and such. So I was at a local coffee shop that I go to a lot, as does one of the owners. Well, as does all of the people in this family. A wife, husband, and a daughter. They come to this coffee shop. I think the daughter works at the coffee shop that I go to. And I was just shooting the breeze with the husband, who I consider them all very, very nice people and very great friends of mine, and I will do absolutely anything for them if they ask. You know, I'd give them my right arm if I could, and if they asked for it, I'd give it to them for sure. But I was shooting the breeze with the husband one night, and he had mentioned that he wanted to get some flyers drawn up and designed just to get some new clientele in, to drum up new business. Okay, of course, if I can help you out, of course I will, right? Because these guys have been really good to me, not only when it comes to, you know, cutting my hair, but just with other things that are outside of anything to do with their salon. They're just really great people, and I consider them really great friends. So when he asked if I could help him out with designing flyers for the salon, of course, I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And, I mean, he told me what he wanted. These guys have been in business for 35 years and counting, so that was paramount. You put that on the flyer. The phone number, the name of the salon, obviously, Hair by Jingles, which you can call up at 416-431-4400, and where it's located. It's 655 McCowan Road. That's in the Lawrence Avenue and McCowan Road area in Scarborough. And he just told me what he wanted. I made some notes. I just jotted down some stuff, and I asked him when he needed them for. I think he gave me a deadline of 3-4 days, something like that. He wanted them like by that week, you know, or later that same week, which was fine. I mean, I could knock that out, no problem. And my thing was, because they've been so good to me and I consider them such great people and such great friends, and I'd do absolutely anything for them if they asked, I would, my goal for designing this flyer was to get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible, with it also looking top notch and looking good, obviously, right? I wanted it to look like the beauty queen of flyers. And that's what I set out to do. I used this app because I designed the whole thing on my iPad Mini 2, which with an app called Foster, right? Which will allow you to design flyers and posters for your advertising and or even personal needs. So I set out to do that. The second, after we laid that all out with just what he wanted on the flyer, what was paramount, all the information that he wanted, and what he wanted it to look like, whether it was color or grayscale. He wanted it to be grayscale, but that was fine too. I'll figure that out. I'll get it done, and I'll get it to you as quickly as I can. My goal for most turnarounds is anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, and he gave me 3 to 4 days, which is 72 to 96 hours. But who's counting, and who can do that kind of math? So, I mean, after we set up all that business, we got all that done when it comes to designing the flyer. We just, like two friends, you sit, you shoot the breeze, and you talk about other things that don't have to do with business. And we did that, right? Which was cool. It was fine. We do that most nights anyway. Just, hey, how you doing? How was the day? And things like that. So after he had left, because I think we were sitting there for another, I don't know, maybe hour or so. After he had left, I started designing the flyer. This was about, I think he left about maybe 8 o'clock that night, or just after 8. So I had started to figure out, okay, how am I going to design this flyer with all the information that he wants on it? Because he wanted, like I said, the phone number, 416-431-4400. Call up here by Jingles and book an appointment. These guys will not disappoint you. The name of the salon, Hair by Jingles, obviously. Where it's located, 655 McCowan Road, which is at Lawrence and McCowan. Plus, he wanted to put a discount on the flyer. So I had to figure out how to put all that into a small standard size flyer type square looking thing. And okay, no problem. I'm a smart enough guy, I'll figure that out. At least that's what I tell myself every day when I wake up and put my feet on the floor and then look in the mirror and then realize, oh, okay, yeah, we're still here. I might as well try and figure out this whole life sort of thing. I had set out to do that, and then I started doing some research on apps that could help me, and I found one. Like I said, I used the app Foster, which will allow you to design flyers and posters for your own business and personal needs. Now, this is a bit of a disclaimer. This is not sponsored. Nobody is paying me to say any of this. I just want to tell you guys about designing the flyer and this great salon, Hair by Jingles, located at 655 McCowan Road at Lawrence and McCowan in Scarborough, Ontario. Call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. Foster isn't paying me either. Bucket Labs is not paying me. I just wanted to tell you guys how I designed this whole thing. So he had left, and I started doing some research on apps that could help me and how they worked, in relation to my iPad. Because I'd always used like a PC or a laptop to design all my stuff. I'd never really done anything on an iPad before other than like just small stuff, right? Like I had designed my own thumbnails and business cards and flyers for just myself for about 10 years leading up to this point. So I don't want to consider myself an old pro, but I guess you could say that I'm an old pro at this sort of thing. But for the most part, I had used a laptop or a PC desktop to put it all together. So this is my first foray into designing anything with an iPad for somebody else. Much less a friend of mine and for his family and for their salon. So he leaves for the night, goes home, and I start working on it. And I realized, all right, you know what? It's getting late because it got to be about 8:30, and I usually walk to this local coffee shop and then walk home. This coffee shop that we both frequent, which is a good 12 blocks from my front door. So it's about 1.5 kilometers each way. So it's 3 clicks each day, which is cool. I love to walk anywhere and everywhere, really. Anyhow, but I decided to leave that night and go home. I realized that it was pushing like 8:30. I'm like, all right, you know what? Because I want to get it done for him as quickly and efficiently, and I want it to look as presentable, and I want it to look like the beauty pageant queen of flyers for this guy, and I want to get it done as quickly as I humanly possibly can. So I walk home. I get home maybe half hour, 45 minutes later, and it's probably like 8:45 at this point, maybe, by the time I get home. And I realized, I'm like, okay, let's just put everything down for now. Let me get a bite to eat, and then I can knock this flyer out, send it off to him, and he'll be happy. And as long as that's the most important thing, as long as your clients are happy, no matter if they're friends or not, as long as your clients are happy, that is the paramount thing. As long as your clients are happy, then you can be happy, and everybody can just be happy. And I think that's all that we all want. It's the only thing that we all want, is to just be happy with the service, be happy with the product, and just be happy in general. I mean, who doesn't like to be happy, right? If you don't like to be happy, you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast. But if you are happy and you like listening to this podcast, thanks. Subscribe to the Beats and Speaks podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, my official website, LeighTDickey.com, and everywhere else podcasts are available. So he goes home, I get home about 8:45, and I realize, I'm like, okay, we're going to knock this flyer out. I wanted to get it done that night and send it off, although we had just talked about it maybe a couple hours prior. And my turnaround, I'd like to believe, and he gave me 3-4 days or something like that to design this whole thing, because he wanted to get, a mass amount of them printed to just start handing out or, putting up wherever, right? And I had gotten home. I figured, okay, I'm going to have dinner. We're going to knock this out. I have dinner. I finish, and it's about 9:05 at this point. And I thought, okay, let's get to working on this flyer. I just want to get this done and knock it out. I want it to look good. So, because it's a hair salon, I mean, Hair by Jingles, clearly it's a hair salon, right? It's in the business name, which is located at 655 McCowan Road at Lawrence and McCowan. Call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. These guys are complete magicians when it comes to hairstyle. You will not be disappointed. How many times have I said that during this episode? I will continue to say it. Book an appointment with these guys at 416-431-4400. Hair by Jingles, 655 McCowan Road at Lawrence and McCowan. You will not be disappointed. But I start working on this thing with the app Phoster. That's Phoster. You can find it on the App Store. And I run into a bit of a snag because it's late. It's about 9 o'clock or so. I'm tired. Well, I had just had dinner, so I mean, you're starting to come down from the day. But I want to knock this out so that I can email it to him, and he and his family, and they can okay it or not, and then just have me do the revisions if they need to have any done. So I start working on this thing, and it is turning into a bit of a nightmare because I'm trying to figure out how the app works in relation to how I'm going to place the text, how big the image needs to be. And that's another thing. I got the image on this flyer, I got it from the free stock image site Pixabay, Pixabay. So I pulled that from that site and figured, okay, how am I going to arrange the text, make it big enough so that everybody can read it, plus use all the available blank space within the image that I have to make everything super, super legible. That was the goal. I wanted to knock this out quickly to make it look super hot. Okay, I wanted it to make it look like a supermodel of flyers. The supermodel of flyers, the Cindy Crawford of flyers. That's what the goal was. Okay, I wanted this to be the absolute Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell supermodel type flyer looking thing that I think it turned out to be, because he was happy with it, which is something I am super happy about. He and his family were happy with it, and we all ended up very happy because they were happy, and thus I could be happy. As long as your client's happy with the design and the product that you deliver, then it's a good day. But I had started messing around with the app, trying to figure out how to place the text, and it took, on average, my turnaround times, I try to get them done within 48 hours or less. I managed to put this flyer together over a span of one night and part of the next morning. So that was about, I want to say, anywhere from 15 to 17 hours. From start to finish, from the time I started to the time I emailed it to him, it probably been about anywhere from 15 to 17 hours. Because I worked constantly on it when it came to just trying to figure out how big the text had to be in relation to where all the supplies or tools were on the image. I had to figure out how big the text was, how big it was supposed to be, and then how to fit it all in there. I think that was the big issue, right? And I just kept working and kept working. Like I said, I started about 9 o'clock the night that we had discussed, putting the flyer together. And I didn't stop till maybe 3 o'clock the next morning. So 6 hours straight, I'm working on this thing, trying to figure out how to get this thing to fall into place and look like the Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell crossover supermodel type flyer looking thing that I had set out for it to be. After working on it for about 6 hours and not getting to bed till 3 in the morning, I just decided, you know what, okay, I'm going to conk out, get a few hours of sleep, and get right back to this the next day. Because that's what was best at that point. My eyes were getting heavy. I mean, he gave me 3-4 days, but I was so jazzed that he asked me to help him out. Plus, I wanted to do a good job for him. And I just wanted to knock it out as quickly and efficiently as I possibly could, that I wanted to get it done right then and there. So working 6 hours from 9 in the evening till 3 the next day, I suppose not a big deal, but my eyes were getting heavy and I was getting tired, so I decided that I should come back to it the next day or when I wake up in the morning. So I figure, okay, I had designed most of it, and I got it to fit to scale, fit to size. Then I emailed it off. I didn't realize at the time, because my eyes weren't fresh, or I was like, okay, no problem. This looks good. I'll just email it to him and see what he thinks. I mean, if there are any revisions or anything I need to add, I'll just add them again or over some empty space in the flyer. Or if I really needed to, okay, I'll start over and do it again. Thankfully, that's not what happened. I had emailed it off, but I forgot one paramount thing that he asked for on the flyer in the original design. I had said that these guys had been in business since 1982. That's 35 years and counting. That's one of the things he wanted on the flyer. I had mentioned that too right at the beginning. But I forgot initially to add the family run for over 35 years in the flyer. I'd gotten everything else. The name of the place, Hair by Jingles. The location, 655 McCowan Road. That's McCowan and Lawrence in Scarborough, Ontario. The phone number, 416-431-4400. Call them up and book an appointment. But the one other thing he asked for, other than the discount on his services for that flyer, he asked for me to put in family run, however long they've been in business, which was 35 years. They've been in business since 1982, so that's 35 years and counting. He asked me to put that in the flyer. I forgot. And then he emailed me back. He said it was great, but can you just add the family run for over 35 years, or the fact that they've been in business for 35 years, right? And then I look at my original design again, and I'm like, oh, he asked for that, and I completely, like, I looked at my notes, and then I looked at the original design that I had sent him, and I'm like, oh, damn, he asked for that, and I completely forgot to put it in the flyer. I guess that's what happens when you work from 9 in the evening till 3 in the morning. Your eyes get heavy, and then you wake up just jazzed to knock this thing out and send it to him. It just skipped my mind, and I forgot. It was just one of those things that I overlooked, which was unfortunate, but you know what? I went back into the original design, and I added that in, emailed it off, and he was super happy with it. Which, you know what? As long as he's super happy and his then you can be happy. And even if they're friends or not, as long as everybody's happy when it comes to the delivery of the product, the execution of the product, anything when it comes to doing business, then everybody's happy. We can all go home and then, you know, hit reset and start it again tomorrow, right? So they were happy with it, which, again, I'm super happy that they were happy with. And like I said at the beginning, I've said several times in this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast with Leigh Dickey, available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, my official website, leightdickey.com, and everywhere else podcasts are available, that Hair by Jingles and the staff there, I consider them all great friends. The owners and their daughter, just fantastic, fantastic people. And if you're looking for a top-notch haircut and you live in Scarborough, Toronto, or you plan on visiting Scarborough or Toronto, then go see the people at Hair by Jingles, located at 655 McCowan Road. That's McCowan and Lawrence. Call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. These guys are fantastic. They will do wonders on your hair. They know what they're doing. They've been in business since 1982. That's 35 years and counting. I promise you guys, you will not be disappointed. And the other thing, before I forget, before I sent off that revised flyer, or the revised design of the flyer where I actually put in the family run for over 35 years, I was actually eating lunch when I made that edit. You know, I got up and the first thing I did was reach for my iPad, and while I'm having like this sort of breakfast lunch concoction thing, I had my iPad in front of me, and I was taking a fork full of the soup and the noodles, and then looking at my iPad to just try and finagle with the text and try and fit the last little bit in there, which was the family run for over 35 years. So I'm having lunch, I'm taking a bite, looking at the flyer, having a bite, looking at the flyer, and about 15-20 minutes after I start lunch, I managed to knock out the flyer. I managed to put the last little bit on there, which was the family run for over 35 years, amongst the other information. The address, the name of the place, the phone number, and the discount on the services that he wanted. So I saved that to my iPad, email him the image file, and he was super happy with it. Everybody involved was super happy with it. I was happy that they were happy. More importantly, like, I was happy with the design, but the best thing about it was the fact that everybody that wanted this flyer was happy with it. And I couldn't have been happier to do that for them, to deliver that to them. And I'm just happy that they were. Job well done. I guess I can give myself a pat on the back. But like I said earlier, if you guys are looking for a top-notch haircut by top-notch professionals who know what they're doing, they've been in business since 1982, that's 35 years and counting, then go see the people at Hair by Jingles, which is located at 655 McCowan Road. That's at McCowan and Lawrence in Scarborough, Ontario. Call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. But that's the story of me designing a flyer for a local hair salon and getting it done in a span of about 15 to 17 hours after staying up from like 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. and then knocking the rest of it out while I'm having lunch the next day. That's the story of designing the flyer for Hair by Jingles, located at 655 McCowan Road. That's in Scarborough, Ontario, at McCowan and Lawrence. Call them up at 416-431-4400. Like I said earlier, this is not sponsored. They are not paying me anything. They are not giving me anything to put them over. I think these guys are just fantastic people. I've been going there for 2.5, 3 years. I've known the owners and their daughter and all the staff there for about that same amount of time. They're just great, fantastic, very knowledgeable, very warm, very welcoming people who know what they're doing. So if you're looking for a top-notch haircut, go see the people at Hair by Jingles, 655 McCowan Road, McCowan and Lawrence. Call them up at 416-431-4400 to book an appointment. That's the story of me designing the flyer for a local hair salon. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find the Beats and Speaks podcast on YouTube under Leigh Dickey Beats and Speaks. You can find it on my official website, leightdickey.com. You can also find the Beats and Speaks podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, and everywhere else podcasts are available. But that's the latest episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for listening. But this is Leigh Dickey for Leigh Dickey Beats and Speaks on YouTube, the Beats and Speaks podcast, and everything else, signing off. We'll see you guys later.